August 21st, 2020. Hundreds of miles from land, more than 30 U.S. Coast Guard sailors float in open ocean. Nothing beneath them but thousands of feet of darkness. Then a single word comes over the radio. Shark. 6 to 8 feet of it. 30 feet away. Closing fast. What happened next was so fast, so controlled, and so precise that most people never learn how close this came to going wrong. But the reason it ended this way starts long before the shark appeared. A swim call is not a casual decision. It is a command-approved naval activity, authorized only after the commanding officer evaluates weather, sea conditions, and the ship's full operational status. Every requirement must be satisfied before one sailor touches the water. This is not a break from the mission. It is a controlled event running inside it. The reason it exists comes down to one word: endurance. Naval deployments stretch for months without a single day on land. Sailors work inside the same confined space, under the same operational pressure, day after day without interruption. That kind of sustained strain builds quietly and shows up later in performance, in focus, in the decisions that matter most. A swim call interrupts that cycle before it compounds. The tradition goes back to the 19th century British Royal Navy, where it was called all hands to bathe. Today, the purpose is morale and operational readiness. Personnel Specialist 2nd Class William Harbin, after swimming during a call on the USS John C. Stennis, put it plainly. He said, "Who else can say they swam next to an aircraft carrier with armed shark guards like your own private security?" That last detail is not a joke, because the moment those sailors enter the water, every layer of control that governs life aboard that ship stops at the waterline. And beyond that line is the one environment no commanding officer can ever fully control. And that's where this story really begins. When a swim call is authorized, the ship is not sitting close to shore. It is positioned in open ocean, in water dropping thousands of feet beneath the hull, with no visible floor and no reference point in any direction. The Kimball crew described their position that August day without drama. "Perfect weather," they wrote, "and a zillion miles from land." That distance isn't background, it's the entire danger. Because out here, whatever happens in the water stays between the crew and the ocean itself. No nearby port, no medical facility within reach, no rescue asset arriving in minutes. Whatever happens in that water, the crew on that ship is the only resource available. Surface conditions reveal almost nothing about what is happening below. Calm water does not mean clear water. Underwater visibility drops sharply within a few feet of depth, and a swimmer on the surface has no reliable view of what is moving beneath them. A spotter on deck reads through moving water from a distance. Neither position offers complete knowledge of the water column in real time. That is not a failure of preparation. It is simply the nature of this environment. And the ocean doesn't pause just because humans enter it. Everything already moving beneath them keeps moving. Sharks do not target humans. That is not reassurance. That is biology. Sharks read movement, vibration, and irregular surface disruption. Between 30 and 40 swimmers in open water produce all three simultaneously. Kicking legs, splashing arms, the physical disturbance of that many bodies in motion sends a signal through the water column that registers as something unfamiliar and worth investigating. In deep open ocean environments, the oceanic whitetip is the species most historically linked to naval encounters. Oceanographer Jacques Cousteau called them the most dangerous sharks he ever encountered. Not because they attack without reason, but because of how persistently they close in on anything that does not fit the normal pattern of their territory. Most approaches end without contact. A shark investigates, finds nothing it recognizes as prey, and moves on. But proximity alone is already a serious operational problem. In low visibility water, with swimmers spread across a wide surface, a shark that is closed in to investigate is already inside the margin where response time becomes critical. The question is never what the shark wants. It's whether the system sees it in time. And that system is built with more precision than most people ever see. Before anyone enters the water, command runs a complete evaluation. Sea state, visibility, environmental conditions, operational readiness. If anything in that assessment fails, the swim does not happen. Authorization is the first layer of protection, and it exists before a single sailor is near the rail. Once the swim is active, multiple systems operate simultaneously. Dedicated watch personnel take elevated positions across the ship, carrying high-powered binoculars and maintaining direct communication with the bridge. They are trained to read marine behavior at distance and identify the difference between a shark passing through and one tracking toward the group. Rigid hull inflatable safety boats hold position near the swimmers throughout. Their function is singular: immediate extraction the moment a recall is issued. Strict swim boundaries keep all personnel within recoverable range. In certain operational areas, armed watchstanders are stationed on deck strictly for confirmed emergencies when a threat has entered the swim zone and must be actively discouraged from closing further. Every layer exists for one purpose: detect early, respond before it escalates. And every layer of protection, comes down to one thing: detection before the threat crosses the point of no return. On August 21st, 2020, that variable held exactly when it needed to, and then the moment every watchstander trains for, but almost no one ever experiences, finally happened. When the shark was confirmed moving toward the Kimball swimmers, the recall went out immediately. No pause, no second assessment. Every swimmer received the signal at the same moment, and the extraction sequence began. The safety boat moved first toward swimmers farthest from the hull, because distance was the most critical variable in recovery time. Swimmers closer to the vessel moved directly toward extraction points along the hull. The sequence worked from the outside in, pulling the most exposed personnel first. Petty Officer First Class Samuel Kintron, the designated Shark Watch, locked onto the animal and, under orders from his chief, fired controlled bursts into the water. Not to kill, to push it back. The shark retreated with each burst, but kept returning, pressing closer with every pass. Cintron fired at least 3 times. The swimmers kept moving. The boat kept working. Every crew member was recovered. The only injury recorded was a scraped knee from a sailor climbing back aboard. If you're proud of how this crew handled the pressure under fire, type "proud" in the comments right now. The shark left uninjured. The inflatable unicorn the crew had brought into the water that morning was recovered too. It now sits at the Coast Guard Museum at the Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut, signed by the man who fired those shots. The Kimball crew did not walk away treating that day as a disaster survived. They treated it as a mission completed. From the moment the threat was confirmed to the moment the last swimmer was aboard, every layer of preparation performed exactly as designed. In open ocean, with no outside help available, and with a shark actively returning through 3 deterrent bursts. That is not fortunate. That is what disciplined preparation looks like when the moment finally arrives. And out there, hundreds of miles from land, with nothing beneath them but darkness, that preparation was the only thing standing between those sailors and the ocean that never once stopped watching.